I love the guys that talk about shrinking the zone versus expanding the zone. It's like, oh, I'm only going to swing middle 2/3. I'm giving away the edges, so then I won't chase. I'm like, oh man, I wish I knew that when I was.
That was a game changer.
I try to protect everything and chase.
That was a game changer for me. It's 2015 KG. I don't think I told you. I have like, it's like August and I have like 80 punchies and it was fine. Like I was raking, so it didn't really matter. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at my numbers one day just randomly, right? And I'm like, I have 80 strikeouts and 23 of them are on 3-2 pitches that are outside the strike zone. And I'm like, is that real life? Because like I would feel myself go from 0-2 and I'd grind it out. I'm like, get to 3-2 and I'm like, challenge count, here we come. So I'm talking to Brooke Jacoby, our hitting coach. I'm like, Brooke, this is ridiculous. I have 23 punch outs on 3-2 pitches that are balls. Like, why don't I just stand there on 3-2? And I'm like, why do they throw their best slider on 3-2? And he's like, yeah, like, but how many hits do you have on 3? I was like, I don't care. That's 23 walks that I should have. I'd be a 1-to-1 walk to strikeout right now. Yeah. And Cliff Pennington, of all people, heard the conversation. And he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, I got something for you. I'm like, what do you got? He's like, with 2 strikes, just look down the middle. And I said, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? I got to protect the whole strike zone. Like, what do you mean look down the middle? He's like, Chris, by nature, you're just going to expand off down the middle anyway. So like, it's 2 strikes. There's 2 strikes. Like you're at that extreme where you're trying to cover the whole box. So automatically you're going to go off it. He goes, just look right down the middle. It's like, all right, what's the worst thing that happens? That night, 3-2 pitch, I looked down the middle and it was an edge slider that was like strike ball. And I walked and I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, this is so stupid. Like, it's so easy now. Like, why didn't I do that before? I'm 31 now. There's 30. I was going to be 31 years old. I'm like, man, if somebody just said that when I was 14, I had like 400 less strikeouts in my life.
I was watching a game this past season, MLB, and they were given the numbers for 3-2 pitches and what kind of pitches they were. And dudes just don't throw fastballs 3-2 anymore.
They won't. It's no longer a challenge count baseball. They'd rather walk you. This is funny to go with that story. Pennington was telling me that Brendan Ryan, if we were ranking like all-time hitters in the big leagues, he might be in the bottom 100. No offense to him, because he was a great defender. But like, he literally said to Pennington one day, he's like, hey, if I get to 3-2, I'm auto taking. He's like, better off. And he said like he had like it was something like 80 or 90 3-2 counts that year, and he walked 54 times.
Yeah.
On those counts. Like, it was crazy. And I'm like, I've been doing this all wrong. I've been trying to get hits my whole life.
Chris, let me ask you a really specific hitting question, because I want to take advantage of this amazing resource I have. And that is, when you are a hitter in the batter's box and that pitcher is on the mound getting his sign, all the way from sign receiving to release, where are your eyes, and how does where your eyes are focused shift during that?
So this happened to me early on in my professional career. I started learning about soft to hard focus and things like that. I started really paying attention to it, because I don't think, if you honestly asked me when I was 20, I probably wouldn't. I didn't really know anything. Right. I wouldn't even have known how to answer the question. So I started really thinking about it and prying into it, and like just learned about why soft focus was important and not staring at one spot for a long time. So what I started doing is I would hear guys tell me, I would listen to Bonds, and he talked about looking out towards shortstop as a left-handed hitter. So I started trying to look at the middle infielders, but I would panic that the pitcher would start doing something and I wasn't looking at him. So what I did is I kind of started with like a very wide lens at the pitcher's mound, and then slowly like kind of take that in as the pitcher's like getting into his windup and start looking at his feet. And then as his windup, or depending if it's stretch or windup, I would start like drifting my eyes up to then find release point. And I mean, realistically, there's really no way of measuring, I think, in my own mind, what was better. But that was something I became very accustomed to. I try not to look at the pitcher's face very often. If I see his upper body, it's usually just like, I'll see shakes, I'll see movement, and, shake, usually insinuated fastball with 2 strikes. Even stuff like that. When I tell guys, I'm like, yeah, he just went shake with 2 strikes. They're like, yeah, he's throwing a breaking ball, right? I was like, no, if he shakes more than twice, like, what does he have, 11 pitches? The catcher's telling him to shake. You guys got to realize pitchers aren't smart.
Yeah.
And then it's fun when you get against the smart pitchers and they like go the opposite way, and then you just play cat and mouse. But the focus stuff for me was more from lower half to upper half, and then I would drift into the release point.